We are in the midst of trade season right now in Dynasty Fantasy Football and in your redraft football leagues. Here's three guys that I am trying to target before it is too late. First guy that I'm looking at is Mr. Jake Ferguson. Now, all of these players that I'm going to target, all of these players have already had their bye week. I love to try to steal an extra week during the season where I trade for a player that has already had their bye week, and I give away an asset or a player that either doesn't have a bye week because it's a pick, or I'm giving up a player that is about to have their bye week. So I steal an extra week. Jake Ferguson is a guy I'm targeting. Jake Ferguson right now in targets per game, he is actually fifth at the tight end position. Now, that might seem crazy, but the reason why he's such a good trade target right now is after three really good games in a row, he had a down week and then he had his bye week. When you have those two things back to back, that doesn't leave a great taste in managers' mouths. Not necessarily because he did anything horrible. It's just subconsciously 2 weeks in a row, you didn't get any production out of this player at a position right now where it is really, really difficult to get players, to get assets to actually score you some points. He's going to give you one of the best possibilities of scoring high end points that's actually acquirable. George Kittle and Brock Bowers are not acquirable right now, not for unless you're willing to give up a ridiculous amount. Jake Ferguson, on the other hand, very easy to acquire compared to those other types of guys. And I think he could give you similar upside as some of those players. So a guy that right now has a great opportunity in this Dallas offense. I'm going after Jake Ferguson. Next one here, we're going to go after Achane. Yes, another one that has already had his bye week, so we get to steal an extra week by trading for him. Look, it's all about getting Tua back in this offense. In fact, this past week, Achane still had a pretty darn good week despite not having Tua back. He rushed for over 70 yards. He caught some passes. So he actually had a pretty good week overall, but it still wasn't a monster game. Let's remember in his two full games with Tua, 7 targets in the passing game in both of those games, scored some touchdowns. The offense was just in much better sync. But I think the biggest thing is we didn't expect this many touches for Achane. We've been seeing games where he's been getting 17 to 22 touches per game. And that's pretty incredible for a guy that we were expecting to get more like 12 to 15. So if he continues getting some of these big games, target share and touch wise, he's going to have an awesome end of the year, especially when you consider he has the 10th easiest schedule for running backs the rest of the way. So the schedule isn't too difficult. He's got a path to high-end fantasy production. So I am trading for Achane. Last but not least, this one is a little bit more, hey, I want to try to get ahead of things just in case. There's backup running backs that maybe will help your team, maybe won't. But if you have them on your roster and something happens to the starter, they instantly become high-end options. One of those guys that you're not going to have to pay an arm and a leg for right now is Tyjae Spears. Tyjae Spears, yes, I get it. He hasn't played a ton this year compared to what we were hoping. But if something were to happen to Tony Pollard, we've seen Tony Pollard have great success in this offense, and the given opportunities that Spears has had, he's been fantastic as well. So if something were to happen to Pollard, he's a guy that I want to target. And look, he's not the only backup running back. There's plenty of other backups that I want to target just in case, especially in a redraft where you're not having to pay much for some of these young guys that are backups. Think of guys like Trey Benson, Tyler Algier. These are guys that you can get fairly cheap, but could offer high-end upside if something were to happen to the starter. Let's talk about the guys that you are trading for as we approach your trade deadlines.